Hey, it's your girl Nancy Red, and this is season 3 of Mompreneurs on MadameNoire, where we celebrate beautiful Black entrepreneurs who are simultaneously killing it as moguls in business and amazing moms. Each week, I'm chatting with my guests about their businesses, their families, and their inspiring journeys and incredible advice. Now, today is a first in Mompreneurs history. We are fortunate to be interviewing a grand-mompreneur. She's just the best, and she's so inspirational. Celebrity PR maven Adrienne Allen is the founder of IPY Agency. Now, IPY stands for I'm Promoting You. And Adrienne is also the author of several books, not just about publicity, but also books that help people through difficult issues and times in their lives. Most recently, she's written The Accidental Parent, Nurturing Love in Unforeseen Circumstances, and I'm honored to have Adrienne with us today. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you. I am excited about this conversation, and that was a dope intro. I like her. She sounds like a good person.
Adrienne is a good person. We're going to just start talking about you in the third person. Because you are keeping it real in these streets. Life is hard and you got to persevere, and you have done this for your family. I mean, you have been mothering people well before you were a birth mom, right?
Yes, absolutely. It is. It's a lot. And so when I saw the show, I was like, ooh, mompreneur, like that is me like 4 times over, and then like grandparent too now. So yes, so I am excited to have this conversation, and
So
probably tired of raising kids, but
we all get tired of raising kids at some point, but I give you credit because so Adrienne reached out to us. And I was like, in true fashion, yes, celebrity PR person knowing how to promote herself. Like, this is why I am a great guest. I'm just like, this is why you're a great guest. And you're so much more. And I think what's really great is so much of what you've been able to overcome, and we'll talk about it, and so much of what you've been able to do, would it have been possible without entrepreneurship?
No, absolutely not. I no. And it's like I had to, because I am like emphatically no. So I'm from Baltimore, Maryland, originally born and raised, and live now in Atlanta, Georgia. And I tell people all the time that although I've had my business for a long time, it wasn't always profitable because I was a single parent at a time. I was doing things on my own. And when I moved to Atlanta, I moved to Atlanta by myself with my 2 youngest children. Atlanta was the first time in a corporate job that I ever made $50,000 a year. And that was even though I have worked in healthcare administration for 10 years. I worked at the great Johns Hopkins. I worked for the Department of Social Services and Juvenile Services. When I left Baltimore in 2013, I think I was probably making about $38,000 a year, even with years of experience. And so it was the addition of the entrepreneurship that allowed me and a lifestyle outside of what corporate America paid me.
And it gave you the flexibility to have those extra funds when life just throws life at you.
Yes.
Because at this point, you've been done raising your own kids for quite some time. Though you have been raising children since you were a child, right? This is a generation of mothering. You were mothered by your grandmother.
Yes.
And then when you were younger, you mothered your brother.
My brother, yes. So yes,
And now here you are, grandmothering with your granddaughter in-house, and that is not cheap.
no. It is not. Nancy, listen. So to your point, yes. So I, again, like I said, I'm from Baltimore. So my parents, my mother and my father both struggled with alcoholism and addiction. And due to their struggles, I was raised by my grandparents. And so people sometimes ask me, because I've never lived with my parents ever. Like I may have visited my parents, but my home was my grandparents' house. And so when I left home, due to their same struggles, my younger brother was living in house with our mom. And, I tell people all the time, it's like when you are a parent, you're a mother, regardless of what you're going through, that mothering instinct is still there. And so, although my mom knew what her struggles were, when I asked for my brother to live with me, she told me no. She's like, that's my son. He doesn't need to live with you. And I'm like, they've had some run ins with some scares at the house, like some someone overdosed at the house, and I'm like trying to get my brother out of that, and she was just like, no. And so luckily, my stepfather, his dad, was like, just let him go. I'll deal with your mom. So even though they had their own struggles too, so I'm like two sets of parents with struggles. So my mom and our mom and his dad, our mom and my dad struggled. And so he was just like, let him stay with you. I'll deal with her. And like, that was how that happened. And then also I have a niece who is not my biological niece, but I had a best friend growing up from high school. I had her daughter more than she had her daughter. There were so many people in a span of maybe like 5 or 6 years who thought that she was my daughter. And this was before I even had my own children. Everybody thought that she was mine. And so I've raised me some kids now. I have 3 adult children of my own. And with my granddaughter, this was the year that my youngest son was graduating high school. And so I was like, I am free. I am done. I don't have to wake anybody up in the morning. I don't have to make sure he gets to the school bus on time. I don't have to drive to the school because he missed the school bus. No more teacher conferences. I'm good. And literally went back to changing diapers because I got custody of my granddaughter. And so it was just like, I talk about it a little bit, and I know we'll talk about it, but it was definitely a blow. It was all of these dreams and thoughts that you have because now you're free. You don't have to, have control over a younger person anymore with their day-to-day operations or anything like that. And you're just in your mind, it's like, okay, I get to sleep in. I get to go as I please. I don't have to worry about where are you outside of a high level, where are you, right? Not like oh my God, I need to know where you are all the time. But again, he's 16, 17 years old. So he was good. But now I have a 1-year-old. So it was like, what just happened?
What just happened indeed. You and your husband like had a plan to go into that good we've done our job night. And like for many of us, plans change.
Yes.
So you've been parenting, you call it kinship care, which I
Yes.
love that phrase.
Yes.
You have been doing kinship care for basically your entire life.
Yes.
So when I asked my normal question, which came first, entrepreneurship or motherhood? Motherhood likely kind of came first. And then at what point did you realize that these jobs weren't going to cut it?
Honestly, Nancy, I've never really wanted to work for somebody. I think I'm one of those people that just was like, this ain't it, but it had to be it because you have to survive. But, right, it's like.
Look, I have talked, let me explain to you. It's anyone listening. I have talked to people whose business or side hustle, whatever you want to call it, their mompreneurship brought in $5,000 a year. I have literally just talked to someone whose side hustle / business brought in over $1 million a year. All of them kept their jobs. I have my job. Like, there's no shame in keeping the job in America where you have health insurance, life, so many things tied to your job.
Yes.
But yeah, so you were can evening, but you still had to can.
I did. And so it was like, especially moving here, because like I said, I didn't have, it was enough at home, right? Baltimore. And I was just like, something has to give. I was tired of struggling. I was tired of winging it with, like the income from my entrepreneurial endeavors. And so I was like, okay, let me make this move and see what's different, because I've been in Baltimore for 30 years now, and something has to change. Something has to be different. And so when I moved here, it was just myself and my 2 younger children. And so I had to get a job. And again, like when you're in healthcare, you can always get a job in healthcare. Like, it doesn't matter. And so I got the job here, but the end game was no job. It was entrepreneurship full time. Let me do what I need to do just to fund my entrepreneurial journey, and so I can get back out. And so, like, again, to answer the question, I've always felt that entrepreneurship was the way, and that jobs were the road to get to entrepreneurship.
I love it. So at what point did entrepreneurship turn into publicity for you? Was that your first entree? Did you dabble in other businesses, or when did you decide to go into PR?
Okay. Transparency moment, right? When you asked if it was the other entrepreneurial. So, I, like a lot of other people, and this is not, there's no judgment, right? Like Nancy's like, what is she getting ready to say? But so my first stint in entrepreneurship was selling tasteful treasures. And if anybody remembers old school, you used to have like the adult items and you have parties at the house with women and you're selling like
You
the
don't know me if you
cardamom.
think that's what I'm gonna judge you on. I am a big fan of you getting your freak on and your finances up. That's awesome. Tasteful
Man, I was
treasures.
killing it in the Tasteful Treasures
I
game.
bet you were having so much fun. You were
So
having fun
much
at home. You did free
fun.
samples. Also, you
Oh
were
my
doing a
God.
service because this before? What year was this?
Yes, it was before. So this was like 90s. So
So
like
this was
late
before the
90s.
internet. This was before anyone could just go on Amazon and put
Yes.
in a fake name and a PO box. There
Yes.
was no access
There
to
was
any
no
kind of
access.
fun.
And we used to have a ball. I was killing it. When I tell you my parties would be lit. And then so like the company would say that you aren't supposed to have strippers there, it's supposed to be women only and things of that nature. So of course I was in the background with my co-ed parties and with strippers. I was doing it. I was killing the game. So that was my first touch of entrepreneurship. And again, like I was killing it. And so, also, in addition to that, I was writing. So, I was in journalism and I had a column in the Baltimore Examiner. And then we had a local magazine called the Flywire. And I was writing for Flywire. And so, during my interviews with talent and celebrities, it would always be a connection, right? There would always be, we joke, we laugh, we're kicking it. We would exchange numbers, or like whenever we saw each other out, it was always love. And so I was like, what can I do to stay in this space that won't require me to be the talent? Like I don't need to be the actress, but I need to be in this space. And so that was when PR came up. And again, to your point, this was before everybody and their mama was a publicist, right? In the late 90s, early 2000s, if you had a publicist, it was because you knew you had to have a publicist. It was because you were in the industry. Somebody told you about publicity. You knew what it was. And so at the time, The Wire was super popular. It was the season with the kids, and I was interviewing Nathan Corbett, who played Donut on The Wire. And so I was interviewing him, and I asked his mom. I was like, "Does Nathan have a publicist?" And she's like, "No." And I said, "Well, I want to see if I can do it." I was like, "I'll do it for free. Like if you let me be his publicist, you won't have to pay me, and this is a win-win for both of us." And so she did, and I got Nathan did Right On Magazine. This is dating myself. So Nathan did Right On Magazine. He did because he had the twist, so he did some of the hair, hype hair.
Did he do hype hair? Was he in
Yes.
hype hair magazine? Girl, the dream. And we have to understand that there were like 8 magazines back then.
Yes.
All of these were them. This
Yep.
was there was no bigger life. This was the
Right.
best case scenario.
Yep. Yep. And so from there, I got some other clients on The Wire, and then got some other, like local talent that I was representing, and the rest is history.
I love it. Okay, so that's the 90s. You get your first client. And I actually think that when you have these service-oriented businesses,
Yes.
that it's a great idea to either, especially if there's no cost incurred on what you do, to
Yes.
take on a free first client. Now, if there's cost incurred, doing something at cost, is a good idea.
Yes.
But
Yes.
you would not have been able to procure a first client if you was charging
Right.
what you charge
Absolutely
now.
not. Absolutely. With no experience in that space, even though, PR is a bunch of writing, it's communication. It's not far from journalism. However, I didn't have any previous experience to say, "Oh yeah, she did PR for me and she was killing it." All I had was the gift of gab, the gift of writing, and a dream.
I love it. And let's fast forward. Okay, here we are 30 years later. You're
Ooh,
still
man.
killing it in publicity. Right. And so I
Yeah.
think one of the great things is things have changed so much, and we'll talk about that from a professional standpoint.
Yes.
But your clientele has changed. And what I think is wonderful, around the same time that you took in your granddaughter, you procured a client in the demographic of your granddaughter. Is that not right? You were the publicist behind the famous and delightful Gracie's Corner.
Yes. Yes. Yeah, it was. And that, so again, this is me, a dream.
We go from sex toys to playground rhymes. I love it. I love
I
it here.
know. And that's what happened. And so my daughter, who is my granddaughter's mom, yes. So my daughter, when she first had, because she was home for the first year of Ava's life, going into the first year of Ava's life. And so I'm grandma, and I'm like, she needs to watch something else on television. Like, we need some color. We need some, we need to us. And so, we're looking, and I came across this show, and I was like, what is this? And it was Gracie's Corner. And I was like, oh, this is dope. Like, I wonder if they have a publicist. And this is what I do with anything. Usually, if I see something that's going to pop off, or I see good potential in it, my mind is always like, do they have a publicist? And so I DM'd them. I sent a DM, and I was like, do you all have a publicist? I was like, my granddaughter is watching the show. It's amazing. I love what you all are doing. Do you have a publicist? And he didn't respond right away. Maybe a few weeks later, because I was like, man, because it's a hit or miss, right? Like, some people will respond, some people won't. And so I got the email address from off of Instagram and sent an email and was like, hey, I reached out. I saw you all on Instagram. I would love to connect with you. If you have a publicist, I mean, no disrespect, just reaching out to see. But if you don't, I would love to connect with you. And he responded. Jay is Grayson's dad. Jay responded and was like, no, we don't have a publicist, would love to talk. And didn't, even with him responding, it still took another couple of weeks before he responded again. But man, once we had that phone conversation, it was amazing. And even with us having that conversation, initially I was like, oh, maybe he'll call back, maybe he won't. Hopefully he liked what he heard, and, like, we can forge a relationship. And we did. And it was absolutely amazing. Representing Gracie's Corner was such a turning point, as you mentioned, because working with someone, obviously not from the ground up, it wasn't from infancy because they already had a following. However, from the ground up in terms of PR and publicity, killed it. We did. I mean, they were nominated for an Image Award. They were on Revolt. They were on Forbes. They Black Enterprise, Afrotech. They were honored at the future founders or future change makers at Afrotech. I mean, it was just an amazing, amazing run. I love it. I love them, even though we no longer work together. Of course, they are doing major things, signing with a huge agency and everything, but it was a phenomenal time in my career.
Well, and isn't it fabulous when you look at why? Because you are in this situation, again, you thought you were done. You and your husband, Floyd, y'all were about to go live your best. We got our
Yes.
last kid out the house.
Yes.
But lo and behold, here you are. You are helping your daughter at the time, they care for your grandbaby. Now you have full custody.
Yes.
But one of the more interesting clients you've had in recent times came to you in that way. What a blessing.
Isn't that great? It's amazing. And you're absolutely correct, because had she not been here, I would not have found them. Well, nope. I was getting ready to say, based on their success, I would have found them, but then a lot of that success is me.
It's so, and that's the beautiful thing. I think one of the great things about your career and your entrepreneurship and your sensibilities is that you take difficult situations and
Yeah.
you make the most of them. You shine a light, you keep it real, but
Yes.
at the same time, you keep it light and fun. And I think one of the ways you express that the best is through your books. When
Yes.
did you start writing books? This is also something you've been doing. Has this been something you've been doing since the 90s too?
Oh, technically yes, but not they weren't published. So my first book that I published was ooh, how I just draw a blank on my own book. Creating a Middle, Conflict Tips for the Modern World. And so I had taken a conflict resolution course because conflict is a part of PR. And so with my communication, I was like, okay. And honestly, one of my college professors taught me and introduced me to conflict. And so I was so fascinated by it and so fascinated by her as a professor that I wanted to learn more. And so as I got into it, I was like, okay, this is great. People need to learn more about conflict and understanding it. And so that was the first book that I published. And so after I published that one, then I published Public Relations. Public Relations Ain't Free. And that was because we get a lot of, I feel like PR is such the barter when it comes to service providers, right? Because there is no tangible fix with PR. With marketing, you know what you're getting. You know you're going to get flyers. You know you're going to get a billboard. You know you're going to get, you know what you're getting with marketing. With PR, there are no guarantees. And so because you can't guarantee PR, people don't want to always pay the rate. And so I'm always, can I get a discount? Can you do it for free? Can I pay you on the back end? So that's why I wrote Public Relations Ain't Free. Then I was sitting here over the pandemic and I was going through my 90s writings and I came across a poem that I had written and it was about my early life as a child of addiction, a child of parents of addiction, and I transitioned. And so, honestly, Nancy, when I first came across the poem, I was so stuck on it remaining the way that it was that I almost didn't write the book because I was so connected to it that I couldn't see changing it. But what happened was when I was trying to get it printed, it needed to be a certain amount of pages, it needed to be a certain amount of words, it needed to have certain substance to it. And so I had to change it up. And so that poem became My Parents Have a Drug Problem. And I wrote that again because when it comes to addiction, the programs are for the addict. They're for the person who's actively trying to get help from addiction. They're trying to get clean. But there are no books or there are no conversations with the children like myself whose parents borrow the piggy bank, but you know the piggy bank is never coming back. Or they borrow the game system and you know it's never coming back. The refrigerator is empty. Abuse happens because these are the type of people that are in the house with people of addiction. And so that's why I wrote that book. And then after that, also connected, don't touch my no parts, because we know that, again, in addicts, in active addiction, there's so much going on in the house with kids in the house. You know, they're using children as payment. You know, they are having addicts in the house and people don't know what's going on. And so I wrote Don't Touch My No Parts. I did a girl version and a boy version because we know both girls and boys are being touched. And so to help with that difficult conversation, you know, as a parent, you want the book to be reflective if you're talking to your son, if you're talking to your daughter. And so those books were from like my 90s interaction. So those do go back even though I didn't publish them back then. I don't even know if I thought that I could, honestly, which having this conversation with you right now is like the light bulb is like maybe that's why I didn't want to let go of the poem because maybe I was losing that part of my story by changing it from what it was.
But it's so helpful, it's so important, and it's very clear to anyone who sees this that this is a very passion project of yours. You want to ensure that children don't endure things that you can help prevent. And in particular with Don't Touch My No-No parts, I think it's such a good idea. And I love that you don't just have the book. In true PR fashion, you have the book, you got a song,
Yes.
you got some choreography. Talk to us
Yes.
about, again, what's really great is in why people become entrepreneurs and why they pursue entrepreneurship. There are many different reasons. And
Yes.
I think that when you have a child that you're caring for, often it's because I just want their life to be better. I want them to have an easier, calmer, more carefree life than I did. And
Absolutely.
it's important. Entrepreneurship is an amazing way to that because financial freedom can go a long way, but also the type of work that you do is not just about money, but it's about another type of enrichment, which is knowledge and self-esteem and care. So when we look at Don't Touch My No-No parts, it's not just a book, it's a whole movement.
It is absolutely. Thank you all. Like that made me smile. You all did your research on little old me.
Well, you're not just little old you. You are making a difference. And it's wonderful and it's important.
Thank you so much. Yes. So with that, man, I was just like, I need everybody to get this book, right? I need to do whatever I need to do for this book to be top of mind for everybody. So, like I said, I did it in a boy version, girl version. I did it in Spanish. I commissioned a song, which is an amazing jingle. I don't know if you all will put it in here or not, but even I have a client that when I was writing this book and I was going through the iterations with the jingle, she sang that song, man, for like 2 weeks. She was like, oh my God, I love this song. Like, it's so catchy. And so then, of course, with challenges, everybody's doing a challenge. We're on TikTok and everything. And so we created a challenge. So Marie Bustin' Moves TV, who is amazing across all platforms. If you all are familiar with her, that's all she does is dance. Her and her daughter dance. And so she and her daughter created this dance for me. And I have it pinned on my page with my granddaughter and I doing it. And Ava is my granddaughter. And she, if I needed any type of confirmation that it worked, Ava is my confirmation. Every single day, Nancy, she's like, they can't see my no-no parts, Grandma, right? Or I gotta put on my dress because they can't see my no-no parts. Or if she put on a dress, she wanna put shorts on under her dress because people can't see her no-no parts. And so and she'll just say it out of nowhere. The way you all like, the way it made me light up when you said it, we could just be talking about anything else. And she'll say, Grandma, can we do the dance? Can we do the no part dance? Let's do the dance. Can we do it again? And like she wanted so much to get it right, right? Like when we were practicing and everything, she's like, let's do it again. Let's do it again. And so she tells her friends about it. I have pictures of her, like we'll be in the car and she's reading it. I gave it to, and I don't know if I want to say her name. I don't know, but I gave it to a female executive at Essence who has small children and saw her again at a different event and wasn't even sure if she remembered me. I was like, hi, I met you at ABC and I gave you my book, my Don't Touch It. Oh my God, my kids read that book every day. And I was like, do they really? And she was like, yes, they read it all of the time. And so that's what it's for. Like that's the why. That's the why. And again, if not for entrepreneurship, I would not have had the resources to commission a song. What? $36,000 a year to get a song made? No.
Is it $36,000 a year
No, I'm
to get
talking
a
about
song
me,
made?
like what I was making on my job. Where I was like,
Oh, I was like, I'm sorry, ma'am.
no.
I was like, I can introduce you to some resources that are more affordable than that if that's what you throbbing down. No, but and also it all builds on each other because I'm going to presume that you're seeing Gracie's Corner, experiencing that, snowballed into understanding this. And that's why it's so important to look at people doing the things you want to do, to hear stories like yours. Somebody's listening to this. They too have journals from the 90s. They too have something very special about their own journey that they have overcome, that they need to share in their own language. Because there's lots of ways we can share things, but the clarity that you have is very relatable to people who don't have someone speaking this language. Because in our community, this is something that is not talked about, not nearly enough.
Not, and when I have done so, when I released, my parents have a drug problem. So many people were like, "You're telling my story. You're telling my story." Because again, no one, I'm not going to say no one, the percentage of people who put the focus on kids when it comes to addiction is very small. Again, you want to speak to the person who's going through addiction, they're going to counseling, and then maybe you might have a an appointment of family counselor or something like that. But I need you to be specific to the kids. Like I need you to talk to the kids. Like my life, although beautiful and amazing, could have been completely different had I had parents who were active in my life and who were the parents that I needed. You know what I mean? And I tell people all the time, and even I put it in the book, in the newest book, that my grandparents gave me my needs. My needs were met. My wants, not so much. One of the biggest things that I missed, that I feel like could have been different if I had younger parents, because my grandparents were my parents. But if I had younger parents, I would have more memories. I don't have pictures of my childhood. I don't have a lot of memories. And, like with my grandparents, we went to church, we came home, and we watched the stories. Like that's what we did. And so that's what one of the things, too, as an entrepreneur, it affords me the opportunity to make memories. My kids, my grandkids, we have memories. And, of my children, they got it worse, man. Ava, not so much because I'm older now and, like we make the memories, but I don't have as much, strength and attention and time to run around behind her. But my kids, oh my God, we was taking pictures every 3 minutes. Come on, turn around, turn around. Let's take pictures. Ava, we take pictures. Yes, we do. But not nearly as much as I did with my kids. But that's because now with Ava, we have the opportunity to do other things that I couldn't do with my children. Like we can go on a vacation, a real vacation, versus, trying to piecemeal a vacation when I had my kids. And, like we might drive somewhere that's an hour or two away and, try to, have to stay at the cheapest hotel and, do whatever we had to do to try to piece things together. I don't have to do that with Ava anymore. We can go on a real vacation. Ava's 4 years old, has already been on like 3 or 4 flights. You know what I mean? Like I didn't take my first flight until I was in my 20s. So, it's like these are the things that I can do differently because I have more access.
I love it. And it's interesting because you have so many years in this game. You're very seasoned. You have climbed your way here, tooth and nail, with a smile on your face.
Yes.
What is your advice for people who are at the beginning of this, who want to get to this point, who want to be able to make memories with their children, who would like to have an opportunity to add streams of income and opportunities that bring a little je ne sais quoi to their life?
It doesn't look like how it's going to look. You're like what you're seeing right now is not what you're going to see later. I promise you. It's going to be a lot. It's going to be hard. It's going to be challenging, but always be able to bend. Always be able to change. Always be able to. And I know people got tired of the word pivot doing the panorama, but it's like you got to pivot. Like if you need to pivot whenever it's time, do that because if you don't try it, you won't know. And there are so many things that I was afraid to try because I was afraid to fail. And you can't be afraid to fail anymore. I did it on the back end. It was like I can use my failures as a success because those failures taught me what I needed to learn to move forward. And if not for the failure, I wouldn't have the success. And so it's like as you are getting started, get started. Don't keep on waiting for the next moment. Don't, and again, I'm going to use my book as an example. I sat on that book forever. My parents have a drug problem because I was afraid to let it go. And so I let it go. I learned from it. And with my next books, I learned what to do differently and how to do it. And so that's the thing is to get started and to do it. So many people are out here. And listen, as Nancy mentioned, you all have so many tools that we didn't have. Oh my God, the internet? What? We were flipping through yellow pages. You know, like
Oh my God. We're
we
like
were
trying to
calling,
text people's beepers, like, yeah.
like,
Like,
y'all got it. We didn't have this. Yeah, my cell phone was like this big back
it was
then. You know,
so
like,
big. Oh my gosh. And like you had like 5 minutes. There was no unlimited plan.
there was
And so
no unlimited.
no,
And
and
we
to
didn't
that
even
point that
have Google like that. Did we have Google? I don't even think we had Google. Did I have
no,
Google?
we had no. Well, for one, we had like Yahoo. We had other
We
search
had
engines,
Yahoo.
but there were like 50 websites. There wasn't anything to Google. There wasn't Googleable stuff.
Oh, you know, we had Nancy. We had
Well,
Ask Jeeves. Do you remember Ask
I
Jeeves?
remember Ask Jeeves, and we also had Mrs. Dewey. There was a lot going on, but you know what? We also didn't have is a whole bunch of people calling themselves publicists, right? So, would you suggest for someone right now is PR a good hustle or side hustle for a budding mompreneur?
I would start out saying PR is a good. Okay, I'll be very honest. I don't think PR is what you need to do. I say that because with PR, it takes a little more tact and a little more effort than people have right now. And that is also because you're at a deficit in the communication space due to all the online access that we have. And so, what's missing from the people who want to do PR today is a lack of communication because we are very technologically advanced now. And so, a lot of people communicate through technology. And with PR, you still need to talk to people, you still need to engage with people. And so, if you are looking for a hustle and a side hustle and communication isn't your thing, PR is probably not your thing. But if you are someone that communicates, then it is a great side hustle for you. So until you build it up to get to a good hustle with it. Because if you can align yourself with somebody that can give you the tools that you need and tell you how to do PR correctly, that's a good side hustle for you. But so many people are like, oh, don't call me. I don't want to talk on the phone. I'm not picking up if you call me. Like, just text me.
You had to have a thick skin.
Yeah. Oh my God. Yes.
Oh, and
Yes.
also, I think what you said, I've never heard it so succinctly put. In that, it's actually a brilliant way to explain. With marketing, you know, you getting some flyers, you getting
Yep.
some Canva layouts,
Yep.
but with PR, you're not getting a guarantee.
Nope.
It's
No
real. It
guarantee.
is, and that's a lot. That's a lot to take in. But what I think you've done a good job with is diversifying, right? Like you're a publicist, you got your job, and you are your own publicist.
Yes.
You use your publicity skills to get on shows with your products, to promote your things, to create a challenge, to get these choreographers to believe in you, and to provide choreography for you and your song, to do all of these different things. So it's a skill set that is translatable to a lot of positive things in your life.
And I think that honestly, I'm just learning to, and you said it like, and I say it jokingly, but internally there is a part of me that still feels like I'm just little Adrienne, right? Because one of the things that I've had to do on this entrepreneurial journey is know that I'm you know what I mean? Like I do a good job.
With the promoter,
So,
it's like the doctor with the mole that's cancerous, or it's like the contractor with the raggedy house, the publicist that doesn't promote themselves.
I released my book, The Accidental Parent. I released it on Grandparents' Day, September the
Hey.
8th. And since that time, being my own publicist, I've done Fox 5 Morning Show. I've recorded the Portia Show. I have a feature in Newsweek. I have News Break. I'm doing Mompreneur. You know what I mean? And so the best way to prove and show and prove who you are and how you do it is to do it for yourself. And so I'm like, man, Adrienne, you are killing it. Like what? Like, and so I think that that's what people need to do is to learn to fall in love with their skills and that part of you that you may be hiding from or that part of you that people told you to hide. I had a conversation with another young lady too, because I'm loud. You know, I'm loud, I'm aggressive, I'm in your face. And so this other young lady that I was talking to, she was like, people kind of talk to me about that, and I feel like I need to minimize myself. And I'm like, girl, be loud. Be loud. Like, if you are who you are, people respect you more versus you putting on your front or sending your representative, and then later on down the line they see another part of you. I think that, no, I know that one of the reasons that my clients love me, and I love my clients, but that's because I am not that person that is just letting you do what you want to do and not checking you on it. You pay me to be your boundary when it comes to the outside world, excuse me. You pay me to tell you what's right, what's wrong, to seek out opportunities for you. I have clients that at the beginning we bumped heads so bad, and like, because oftentimes as another small business owner, right? That's your baby. And you don't want anybody to come in and tell you that any part of your baby is wrong. And so we bumped heads until it got to the point that it was like, okay, well, Adrienne's not being malicious, excuse me. She's just trying to get it right. She's, okay, I can trust her to do this. And so then it goes from, them trying to give me bits of information to now, if we're in a room and somebody asks them a question, they turn around and look at me because they want me to answer. Or if somebody sends them an email, they don't even check the email. They just forward it over to me because they know that that's why I'm there. I'm there to protect their best interests. And we're all in this together. So and I tell people also, this is a relationship. All service providers are a relationship. But with PR, especially because there are no guarantees, you need to date and court your publicist, because what works for one person doesn't work for another person. And that was kind of a well that I fell into with Gracie's Corner, because I had so many other people in that lane that wanted Gracie's Corner. You know what I mean? They're like, I see what you did for Gracie's Corner. I need you to do that for me. I know they were on this, so I know you can do this for me. And I'm like, okay, but your business plan isn't together. You aren't together. You don't have a bio. You don't have professional photos. You don't.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I don't mean to bust out laughing, but like it's frustrating. It's a complicated dance. What's funny though is I feel like therein lies the rub, is that perhaps you might want to expand to include marketing services to help them get that together, because it's hard.
Yes.
It's all hard, okay?
Yes.
But you're figuring it out from the professional standpoint, from the personal standpoint, and you're doing a great job. And our time is almost up, but I can't let you leave without participating in my favorite segment, which is called Mompreneurs Manifestation. And I always ask each of my guests what you're trying to make happen, and so we can bring it into the universe for you and send good vibes.
Okay. So, what I want a talk show, Nancy. That's what I'm trying to do. Is I want a talk show. Being on these other platforms and doing interviews, I just feel like that could be me, or that should be me. That should be me. And I want this to be very advocacy focused. As you mentioned, kinship care. A lot of people, and I'll just hold this up for a minute. I held it up a little bit, but with the accidental parent, nurturing love in unforeseen circumstances, I figured out that a lot of people had never heard the term kinship care. And
no, so, I've not heard of it.
And so,
but it's such a prevalent aspect of our community.
Yes, absolutely.
Everybody got somebody they keep.
Everybody. And so
even if they don't keep them tangibly, they keep them financially. Like, there's a lot going on. There's layers to this.
And that's why I want a show that is focused, because we have a lot of shows in the parenting space and even some caregiver spaces, but not kinship care. And so I want a show that focuses on advocacy for kinship care and parenting in extreme circumstances, because parents come in different ways. Like, you can become a parent in a lot of different ways. And as a grand-mompreneur, it's just like I need, because I know it's so many grandparents. Oh, and that was another thing that I got. I spoke at a kinship care breakfast. And so being in a room with all these grandmas that are raising kids, it's like we need a platform as well. We need an outlet. And so I really would love my mompreneur, fellow entrepreneurs, solopreneurs, all these mompreneurs. Y'all support me in my effort to get me a talk show.
I love it. Well, step one, let people know where to find you. Where can everyone find you and your company and your books?
Yes, so The Accidental Parent, well, all of my books are available on Amazon and barnesandnoble.com. My website is www.theipyagency.com. I am on Instagram. I'm promoting you. And I'm real good on TikTok. Y'all, I be on TikTok acting a fool, but it's promoting you too on TikTok. But yeah, so I'm on Instagram all the time though. I'm promoting you and www.theipyagency.com.
I love it. Thank you so much for sharing your story,
I
your
cannot believe our
projects.
time is up.
I know an hour goes by fast.
It does.
And you have a lot to say. So that's why you need to get your own show and just, it's not the 90s. It's never been an easier time. So I'm excited. We are all very excited and we're very appreciative that you joined us today.
I am so super appreciative of the opportunity. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you all for responding to my email. Thank you for this opportunity. I appreciate it so much.
Wow, that's great. I mean, again, she's obviously a great publicist. She's hustling out here for herself and doing a great job. So, I mean, look at the results. She got receipts. And thank you all for listening to and watching Mompreneurs. Just as a reminder, a brand new episode goes live each Monday on Urban One Podcast Network, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. Visit urban1podcast.com to learn more. That's urban1podcasts.com. Mompreneurs is brought to you by the Urban One Podcast Network and MadameNoire. Created, produced, and hosted by me, Nancy Red. Executive produced by Allison McGovna and Tanya Hoffler-Moore. Produced and edited by Jiminique Miller.